In a bustling corner of the city, 12-year-old Luisa offered flowers to passers-by. Her voice, though young, already carried the weight of responsibility and premature maturity. Each day, she woke up early, collected fresh flowers from the market, and headed to her usual spot. The mornings were cold, but her determination kept her warm. "Fresh flowers, roses and lilies, get a bouquet to brighten your day," she shouted, with a smile that concealed the accumulated fatigue. People passed by her, some smiled kindly, others ignored her, but she never lost hope of selling her entire load. Each sale represented one step closer to her goal: to help her father, Eric, pay the bills, and one day go back to school. Luisa always found time to talk to Sophia, her inseparable friend, who often came to visit her. Sophia brought with her a bit of normalcy and comfort, something Luisa valued enormously. "How is everything going today, Luisa?" Sophia asked with a warm smile. "Like always, I sold some flowers, but not enough," Luisa replied, her voice filled with a mixture of resignation and hope. "I dream of being a doctor someday, helping Dad and other people." Sophia looked at her with admiration. "You are the strongest person I know. I don't know how you do it every day." Luisa sighed. "I have no other choice. Dad needs me." As evening fell, Luisa returned home, a small and modest dwelling where her father, Eric, waited for her with dinner ready. Eric, a man of few words, but with a heart full of love for his daughter, did his best to maintain an atmosphere of normalcy despite the difficulties. "How was your day, my dear?" Eric asked as he served the food. "Good, Dad. Sophia came to see me," Luisa replied, trying to hide her weariness behind a smile. Eric observed her with concern. The dark circles under Luisa's eyes were evident, the result of sleepless nights and exhausting days selling flowers. "You shouldn't have to carry all this weight, Luisa. You're still a little girl." Luisa looked at her father, her eyes meeting his. "I do it for us, Dad. We are a team, remember." That night, as Luisa prepared for bed in her small room, she couldn't help but think about her life and the dreams that seemed increasingly distant. "Someday, things will change," she whispered to herself, clinging to that little spark of hope that kept her going. The next day, filled with a feeling of victory, mixed with exhaustion, Luisa managed to sell all her flowers, a small but significant achievement. "Dad, I sold everything today," she announced with a twinkle in her eyes, finding Eric in the kitchen, trying to disguise his persistent cough with a smile. "That's great, Luisa. You're becoming an excellent salesperson," Eric replied, though the worry didn't disappear from his face. The money that Luisa placed on the table represented more than the result of a day's work. It was the manifestation of her dedication and hope. "Dad, don't you think we should use some of this money to take you to the doctor? You keep coughing." Eric downplayed the situation. "You don't have to worry about me. I'm just old, my dear. It's just a cough, and we need to save every penny we have." The generosity of Sophia and her family, owners of the restaurant across from the traffic light where Luisa worked, was one of the rare points of relief in her days. They frequently offered her lunch, meals that were not only nutritious, but also full of affection. "You can't imagine how much their lunches help, Dad. Sophia always makes sure to call me," Luisa shared during dinner, grateful for the friendship and support. However, the same street that offered her generosity also exposed her to daily cruelty. Luisa faced the disdainful looks and comments from people who thought they were superior. Some people ignored her or rejected her flowers with contempt. "Some people act like I'm invisible, or worse, like I don't deserve the same consideration as them," Luisa blurted out. sadness evident in her voice. Eric listened with a heavy heart, knowing how cruel the world could be to his daughter. He didn't want to show it, but he felt weaker and weaker, and it was despairing for him to see his young daughter working so hard. "You are stronger than them, Louisa. Don't let their indifference dim your light. What you do is beautiful and worthy. Remember that," Eric advised, trying to instill in Louisa the resilience to face such adversity. But deep down he wished he had the strength to give his daughter a decent life, and, above all, not let her notice that he was sick. The morning sun had barely begun to warm the streets when Louisa said goodbye to her father and went out to her flower stand. It was a day like any other, full of work and silent hopes. However, there was something in the air that Louisa could not identify, a subtle tension in the way her father had avoided looking her directly in the eye that morning. While selling her flowers, Louisa could not help but think about the evident fatigue on Eric's face and his persistent cough that seemed to worsen with each passing day. Her concern was mixed with a disturbing curiosity. What was her father hiding from her? Later, as she rounded the corner to head home, Louisa stopped dead in her tracks. There, right in front of her, she saw Eric. But it wasn't the Eric she knew. He was dressed in an expensive suit, one she had never seen before, and was getting into a luxury car. Her mind raced with questions, and her heart pounded with confusion and fear. "Dad?" she whispered to herself, her voice lost in the bustle of the street. She decided to follow him, making sure to keep a safe distance so as not to be discovered. Curiosity and fear pushed her to find out the truth. The car stopped in front of an elegant restaurant that Louisa recognized as belonging to the Gonzalez family, close friends of her family. Eric got out of the car and was greeted by Jorge and Elena Gonzalez, who greeted him warmly. Louisa hid behind a nearby tree, her eyes fixed on the scene. "I can't believe it," thought Louisa, her mind trying to process the image of her father in that luxurious environment. She waited patiently, her heart pounding, as she watched her father enter the restaurant. Inside, Eric sat down with Jorge and Elena, their faces serious in contrast to the cozy atmosphere of the place. Louisa crept closer to an open window to listen to the conversation. "Eric, we are worried about you," Jorge said, his voice low but full of concern. "We know your health is not good. Why didn't you tell us before?" Eric sighed deeply, his face showing the weight of his thoughts. "I didn't want to worry anyone, especially Louisa. She already has enough to deal with." "And what are you going to do now?" Elena asked softly. "I have to be away for a while," Eric replied, his voice tinged with sadness. "I need to find proper treatment, but I don't want Louisa to know. Please, take care of her while I'm gone." Louisa felt as if the ground was crumbling beneath her feet. Her father was planning to leave her, and worst of all, he was sick. Tears threatened to spill, but she held them back. She couldn't let her father know that she had discovered his secret. That night, Louisa couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with contradictory thoughts, and her heart was filled with fear and pain. She decided that she had to know more, that she had to fully understand what was going on with her father. The next morning, as Eric prepared to leave, Louisa pretended to be asleep. She watched him from the crack in her door, feeling a mixture of sadness and determination. She waited until he left the house before following him again. Eric headed to the same restaurant, and Louisa, now more cautious, found an even safer place to spy. This time the conversation was more revealing. "The doctors say I need immediate treatment," Eric confessed, his voice barely a whisper. "But I can't afford it without stopping work. I don't know how to do it without Luisa finding out." "Let us help you," Jorge insisted. "We can find a way to take care of Luisa and make sure you get the treatment you need." Eric shook his head, his resolve evident. "I can't accept any more help. You've already done too much for us." Luisa moved away, her heart aching but more determined than ever. She had to do something to help her father. She had to find a way to ease his burden. Days passed, and Luisa carefully observed her father's every move. Every time he coughed, her worry grew. Every time he tried to smile, her heart broke a little more. One afternoon, while Luisa was at her flower stand, an idea began to form in her mind. If her father didn't want to accept help from the Gonzalez family, maybe there was another way to get the money needed for his treatment. She remembered seeing an advertisement for a talent show in the town square with a considerable cash prize. "That could be our lifeline," Luisa thought, feeling a spark of hope ignite in her chest. She knew her father had an incredible talent for music, a talent he had put aside to take care of her. If she could convince him to participate in the contest, maybe they could win the money needed for his treatment without him having to leave. Luisa couldn't wait any longer. With determination, she placed the talent show poster in the center of the dining room table, where she knew her father would see it. Dinner was almost ready, and as she finished setting the table, her thoughts revolved around how to start the conversation. Eric entered the kitchen, tired but with a warm smile that he always reserved for his daughter. However, when his eyes fell on the poster, his expression changed to a mixture of surprise and curiosity. "What is this, Luisa?" he asked, picking up the poster to get a closer look. "It's a talent show being held in the town square," Luisa replied, trying to sound casual. "The prize is a significant amount of money. I thought maybe you could participate with your music." Eric put the poster on the table and sighed. "Luisa, I haven't played the piano in years. I don't know if I still have the skill." "Dad, you've always been amazing with music," Luisa insisted, her voice firm but full of affection. "This could be our chance to turn things around. Please, think about it." Eric looked at his daughter, his eyes filled with concern and love. He knew she was trying to help, but the thought of playing again after so many years was overwhelming. "I'll think about it," he finally said, trying to appease Luisa's determination without making any promises. That night, Eric couldn't sleep. His mind was filled with memories of the days when he played the piano, of the joy he felt in doing so, and how everything had changed after the death of his wife. But he also thought about Luisa, her courage and determination, and how much he wanted to give her a better life. The next morning, Eric decided to take a walk to clear his head. As he walked through the park, he ran into Dr. Ramirez, a doctor who used to frequent the bar where Eric played years ago. "Eric, how have you been?" Dr. Ramirez greeted him with a friendly smile. "Good, doctor, as well as can be expected," Eric replied, his voice showing signs of fatigue. "Do you still play the piano?" Dr. Ramirez asked, his tone full of genuine interest. "No, I stopped playing a long time ago," Eric admitted. "But my daughter wants me to participate in a talent show." Dr. Ramirez looked at him curiously. "I remember your performances, Eric. You were exceptional. Why don't you give it a try? It could be an opportunity to rediscover your passion and, who knows, maybe even win the contest." Eric smiled faintly. "I'm not sure I'm ready, Doctor. It's been so many years." If you need any help, I'd be happy to offer you my piano and anything else you need, Dr. Ramirez offered. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Eric appreciated the offer, feeling a spark of hope mixed with nervousness. He decided he would talk to Luisa about it. When he got home, he found Luisa in the kitchen, busy with her chores. "Luisa," Eric called, his voice soft. "I've been thinking about what you said about the contest." Luisa looked up, her face lighting up with hope. "Yes, Dad?" "I've decided to give it a try. Dr. Ramirez offered to help me with the piano and the preparation." Luisa's eyes sparkled with joy. "That's wonderful, Dad. I knew you could do it." However, as the days passed and Eric began to practice, insecurity and fear of failure took hold of him. The hands that once touched the keys with confidence now trembled slightly, and every wrong note seemed like a reminder of how far he had come from his glory days. One day, while Eric was practicing at Dr. Ramirez's house, Luisa arrived unexpectedly and overheard part of the conversation between her father and the doctor. "I don't know if I can do it, Doctor. Every time I play, I feel like I'm not the same," Eric confessed, his voice thick with frustration. "Eric, you need to trust yourself," Dr. Ramirez replied. "You have a natural talent. You just need a little practice and to believe in your abilities." Luisa felt a pang in her heart upon hearing those words. She couldn't believe that her father hadn't told her anything about his fears and doubts. That night, Luisa confronted her father. "Dad, I overheard your conversation with Dr. Ramirez. Why didn't you tell me you felt that way?" Eric looked at her sadly. "I didn't want to worry you, Luisa. You already have enough on your plate." "Dad, we're a team, remember?" Luisa said, her voice firm but full of love. "You don't have to do it alone. I'm here to support you, just like you've always been there for me." Eric felt a wave of emotion and gratitude. "You're right, Luisa. We'll do it together." With Dr. Ramirez's help and Luisa's unwavering support, Eric continued to practice, each day gaining more confidence in his ability. The days passed slowly, but Luisa's determination and love gave Eric the strength to keep going. The day of the talent show arrived with a mixture of excitement and nervousness that enveloped Eric like a heavy blanket. He got up early, mentally going over each note, each chord. He knew this moment was not only a test of his musical ability, but also an opportunity to change his family's destiny. Luisa had woken up before her father, silently preparing for what would be a decisive day. Although Eric didn't know it, she had planned to attend the contest and support him from the audience, without him noticing. Her heart raced at the thought of seeing her father play the piano after so many years. Upon arriving at the contest venue, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Participants of all ages were gathering, some tuning their instruments, others practicing their routines. Eric felt a twinge of doubt, but quickly pushed it aside. He had to do it, not just for him, but for Luisa. "Are you ready, Eric?" asked Dr. Ramirez, who had arrived early to offer his support. "Remember, this is just the beginning. Trust yourself." Eric nodded, trying to absorb the doctor's confidence. "Thank you, Doctor. I wouldn't be here without your help." Meanwhile, Luisa slipped through the crowd, finding a seat at the back of the auditorium. From there, she could clearly see the stage, but made sure her father couldn't see her. She wanted her presence to be a surprise, one last push of encouragement. The contest began with a series of impressive performances. Eric's nerves grew with each act, but when his name was called, he took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The silence in the room was almost deafening as he sat down at the piano. The first notes came out hesitantly. A mistake here, another there. Insecurity gripped him, and for a moment he thought about getting up and leaving. But then, from the back of the room, he heard a clear, familiar voice. "Dad, you can do it." It was Louisa. Her unexpected presence and her words full of faith rekindled Eric's determination. He closed his eyes for a second, letting the love and hope his daughter offered him fill his heart. When he played again, the notes flowed with a warmth and precision that seemed to come from a deep place within him. Each chord told a story, each melody a reflection of his struggles and dreams. The music filled the auditorium, touching the hearts of those present. The audience, initially surprised by the mistakes, was now completely absorbed, their emotions tied to every note. Eric surrendered himself completely to the music, his fingers moving with a grace and dexterity he hadn't felt in years. Each key he pressed seemed to resonate with a new intensity, as if each carried a fragment of his soul. The memories of better times, of his youth, of happy days with his wife and the joy of Louisa's birth, all intertwined in a symphony of feelings that transcended the barriers of time and space. The auditorium, previously steeped in expectation, had been transformed into a sea of emotional faces. Some people had tears in their eyes, moved by the authenticity and passion emanating from Eric's performance. Each time a high note filled the room, it seemed as if a ray of light pierced the darkness, symbolizing the hope he and his daughter had never abandoned. Tears of emotion began to roll down his cheeks, but he didn't stop. Instead, those tears became the energy he needed to keep going. In his mind, he saw Louisa's smiling face, her unwavering support, and that gave him the strength to carry on. The melodies became more complex and beautiful, each more potent than the last. People in the audience could feel Eric's emotional journey. Those who knew him knew what he had been through, and strangers could sense the depth of his story through his performance. Couples held hands, parents hugged their children, and everyone united in a shared feeling of humanity and hope. When the last note echoed and faded into the air, there was a moment of absolute silence, as if the world had held its breath along with Eric. Then, the auditorium erupted in applause, an ovation that seemed to have no end. Eric, still seated at the piano, felt a wave of relief and gratitude. He rose slowly, bowing to the audience, and his eyes searched for Louisa in the crowd. "Dad," Louisa whispered, even though she knew he couldn't hear her. "I'm so proud of you." Eric came down from the stage, and as he did, he saw Louisa running towards him. He hugged her tightly, their hearts beating in unison. "We did it, Louisa," Eric said, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for believing in me." "No, Dad. Thank you for not giving up," Louisa replied, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. Dr. Ramirez approached, a broad smile on his face. "That was an incredible performance, Eric. I knew you could do it." "Thank you, Doctor," Eric said, still hugging his daughter. "I couldn't have done it without your support and Louisa's love." The air in the auditorium was thick with anticipation as everyone awaited the results of the contest. Eric, his heart still racing from the emotion of his performance, held Louisa's hand tightly, seeking comfort in her presence. He knew he had given his best, but he couldn't help but feel a knot of nervousness in his stomach. Finally, the presenter took the microphone, and the room fell into expectant silence. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The second-place winner is Eric Ramirez. There was a burst of applause and cheers. Eric felt a mixture of relief and disappointment. He had hoped to win first place to secure a better future for Louisa and himself. However, the recognition and applause were validation of his effort and talent. "Dad, "You were amazing," Louisa said, hugging him tightly. "I'm so proud of you." Eric smiled, his daughter's words filling his heart with warmth. "Thank you, Louisa. I did it for us." As the applause continued, Dr. Ramirez took the stage, his face illuminated by a proud smile. "Eric, what you achieved today goes beyond winning a prize. You have touched the hearts of all of us." Dr. Ramirez turned to the audience, taking the microphone. "I would like to take a moment to recognize something special. Eric is not only a talented pianist, but also a person who has overcome great challenges. His music has been a source of inspiration for many of us." There was a murmur of agreement from the audience as Dr. Ramirez continued. "Therefore, on behalf of the community and with the support of some generous donors, I am pleased to announce a special scholarship for Eric and his daughter Louisa. This scholarship will cover Eric's medical expenses and ensure that Louisa can go back to school." Eric was speechless, his eyes welling up with tears of gratitude. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Louisa, her face lit up with a radiant smile, hugged him tightly. "Dad, this is incredible." Dr. Ramirez handed Eric an envelope. "This is just the beginning, Eric. We want you to continue sharing your music and your story with the world." Eric took the envelope with trembling hands, his voice choked with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you. This means more than I can express." The auditorium erupted in applause, and Eric, with Louisa by his side, bowed in gratitude. He knew this moment marked a new beginning for them. The scholarship not only offered them an opportunity to improve their situation, but also a platform to inspire others. Leaving the stage, Eric and Louisa were greeted by friends and acquaintances who wanted to congratulate them. Jorge and Elena Gonzalez were among them, their faces filled with pride. "We knew you could do it, Eric," Jorge said, shaking his hand firmly. "This is just the beginning of something great." That night, as they walked home under the soft light of the stars, Eric and Louisa felt a renewed sense of hope. Life, which had seemed so bleak and full of challenges, now presented itself as a field of possibilities. "Dad, I'm so happy," Louisa said, breaking the silence. "Today has been the best day of my life." "Mine too, daughter," Eric replied, gently squeezing her hand. "You know, I've always believed that after the storm comes the calm, and today we have finally found our calm." Louisa smiled, knowing that from now on they could face anything together. The scholarship would provide the stability they so desperately needed, but more importantly, it had given them the confidence to dream again. The following days were filled with preparations and positive changes. Eric began his medical treatment, and each day he showed signs of improvement. Louisa, in turn, returned to school with renewed energy and a determination to make the most of every opportunity. The support of the community and friends like the Gonzalez family and Dr. Ramirez continued to be a constant source of strength and encouragement. Eric resumed his passion for music, finding ways to share his talent with others, whether playing at small local events or teaching aspiring young musicians. For Louisa, seeing her father recover and flourish again was the greatest reward. She knew the road would still have its challenges, but now they had the tools and support they needed to face them. One afternoon, while they were practicing a piano piece together in their modest but cozy living room, Louisa looked at her father and said, "Dad, thank you for not giving up, for teaching me that there is always hope, even in the darkest of times." Eric smiled, his eyes reflecting the love and pride he felt for his daughter. "Thank you, Louisa, for reminding me that it's always worth fighting for. We are a team, and together we can achieve anything." The weeks following the talent show marked the beginning of a new stage for Eric and Louisa. With the prize money and the special scholarship, Eric was able to start the medical treatment he so desperately needed. As each day passed, his health showed signs of improvement, and the smile on his face reflected a renewed hope. Their daily routine changed significantly. Eric no longer had to worry about finding desperate ways to earn money to pay for medical bills. He could now focus on his recovery and building a better future for Louisa and himself. One morning, as Eric was getting ready to go to one of his treatment sessions, Louisa approached him with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "Dad, today is my first day back at school," she said, adjusting her backpack on her shoulders. Eric looked at her with pride. "I'm so happy for you, Louisa. I know you're going to do amazing things. Always remember that I'm here to support you in everything." With those words of encouragement, Louisa left the house, ready to face a new chapter in her school life. Although it had been a long time since she had stopped attending classes, her determination and the constant support of her father and friends motivated her to move forward. At school, Louisa was greeted with enthusiasm by her classmates and teachers. Sophia, her best friend, ran towards her with a big smile. "Louisa, it's so good to see you again. We've missed you so much." "I've missed you too, Sophia," Louisa replied, feeling a comforting warmth in her heart. Meanwhile, Eric attended his treatments with a positive attitude and a strength that inspired everyone around him. Dr. Ramirez, who had been a fundamental pillar in this process, always welcomed him with a smile and words of encouragement. "Eric, you are progressing very well," Dr. Ramirez said during one of the sessions. "I'm sure with your determination, you'll be fully recovered soon." Eric nodded, feeling a deep gratitude towards the doctor. "Thank you, doctor. I couldn't have done it without your help and Louisa's support." In addition to the treatments, Eric found a steady job at a small local music store. The owner, an old friend named Carlos, was delighted to have Eric working there, knowing that his love for music would make a big difference. "Eric, it's a pleasure to have you here," Carlos said, showing him the daily tasks. "Your experience and passion for music are exactly what we need." Working at the music store not only provided him with a stable income, but also allowed him to be surrounded by something he loved deeply. Every day, Eric felt stronger and happier, knowing that he was building a solid future for Louisa and himself. On weekends, the Gonzalez family and Dr. Ramirez continued to be an integral part of their lives. They often organized gatherings where everyone got together to enjoy home-cooked meals, share stories, and celebrate small achievements. At one of those gatherings, Jorge Gonzalez raised his glass and said, "I want to make a toast to Eric and Louisa. They have shown incredible strength and have reminded us all how important it is never to lose hope. To their new life, and to all the dreams yet to be fulfilled." "To Eric and Louisa," everyone responded in unison, raising their glasses and smiling. Eric, moved by Jorge's words, looked around him. He felt a profound gratitude towards every person present, knowing that without them, his recovery and Louisa's return to normalcy would not have been possible. "Thank you all," Eric said, raising his glass as well. "I don't know how to thank you enough for all the support and love you have given us. Louisa and I are very lucky to have you in our lives." Life had changed a lot for Eric and Louisa, but the road to stability and happiness was full of promise and new opportunities. Every day, they faced their challenges with renewed confidence, knowing that they were not alone. Louisa, now back in school, was working hard to catch up on her studies and pursue her dream of becoming a doctor. Her teachers noticed her dedication and supported her every step of the way. "Louisa, you have great potential," her science teacher told her one day. I'm sure you're going to achieve great things." With each small success, Louisa felt more self-confident. She knew her father was proud of her, and that gave her the strength to keep going, even on the most difficult days. Eric, for his part, continued to work at the music store, finding joy in teaching aspiring youngsters and helping customers find the perfect instrument. His love for music was reflected in everything he did, and his health was improving day by day. Time passed, and both Eric and Louisa continued to grow and find new opportunities in their lives. Eric's dedication to music and his innate talent began to attract the attention of the community. His name became synonymous with passion and perseverance, and soon invitations began to arrive for him to play at different events and venues. One day, while Eric was at the music store tuning a piano, he received a call from an event organizer. "Mr. Ramirez, we have heard of your incredible talent, and we would love to invite you to play at our charity gala next month. It would be an honor to have you." Eric, surprised and excited, accepted the invitation gratefully. "It will be a pleasure. Thank you for thinking of me." Eric's performances became moments of pure magic. Each time his fingers touched the keys, the audience was captivated, caught up in the passion and emotion he conveyed through his music. His health, which had been a constant concern, was now at its best thanks to the treatments and his renewed energy. Meanwhile, Louisa continued to dedicate herself to her studies with unwavering determination. Her confidence grew with each exam passed, each project completed. Her dream of becoming a doctor became more tangible with each step she took. One day, upon returning from school, Louisa found her father practicing a new piece on the piano. She sat down beside him, listening intently. "Dad, you play better every day. I'm so proud of you." Eric smiled, letting the notes slowly fade away. "Thank you, Louisa. All of this is thanks to you. Your support has been my strength." The opportunities for Eric did not stop coming. He was invited to play in city concerts, private events, and charity galas. His music was not only a source of income, but also of joy and hope for those who listened to him. "Dad, you have an incredible gift," Louisa said one night after one of his concerts. "You're not just sharing your talent, you're inspiring a lot of people." "I hope so," Eric replied, his voice full of gratitude. "Music has always been my refuge, and being able to share it with others is a true gift." Meanwhile, at school, Louisa stood out not only for her intelligence but also for her compassion and her desire to help others. Her teachers supported her every step of the way, knowing that she had the potential to achieve great things. One afternoon, while studying in the library, her biology teacher approached her. "Louisa, your dedication is admirable. I want to recommend you for a summer program at the local hospital. It will be a great opportunity for you to gain experience and learn more about medicine." Louisa, excited by the opportunity, accepted enthusiastically. "Thank you, Professor. I will do my best to make the most of this opportunity." Time passed, and Louisa graduated from high school with honors. Her hard work and dedication paid off, and she was accepted to a prestigious university to study medicine. On graduation day, as she received her diploma, Eric was in the audience, clapping with pride and emotion. "Dad, we did it," Louisa said after the ceremony, hugging him tightly. "I'm going to be a doctor thanks to your support." "I'm so proud of you, Louisa," Eric replied, his eyes filled with tears of happiness. "I knew you could do it." The relationship with the Gonzalez family and Dr. Ramirez grew even stronger over time. They became an integral part of their lives, providing unconditional support and friendship. Family gatherings were frequent, filled with laughter, music, and deep conversations. One afternoon while walking in the park, Eric and Louisa reflected on their journey. "We've been through so much, but every challenge has made us stronger," Eric said, looking at his daughter with affection. "Yes, Dad," Louisa agreed. "And the best part is that we've done it together. No matter what the future holds, I know we can face anything." Over time, Eric achieved stability in his job, and his health continued to improve. His music remained a source of joy, not only for him, but for all who heard it. Each performance was a reminder of the beauty of life and the importance of never giving up. Louisa, for her part, immersed herself in her university studies, getting closer and closer to her dream of becoming a doctor. She knew the road would be long and challenging, but she was ready to face it, with the same determination that had gotten her this far. The days of uncertainty and hardship now seemed like a distant memory. Eric and Louisa looked to the future with confidence and hope, knowing they had built a solid foundation of love and mutual support. At one of their family gatherings, Jorge Gonzalez raised his glass and said, "I want to toast to Eric and Louisa for their strength, their determination, and for the bright future that lies ahead. They have shown us that with love and hope, anything is possible." "To Eric and Louisa," everyone responded, raising their glasses and smiling. Eric and Louisa looked at each other, feeling a deep gratitude for the journey they had traveled and the people who had accompanied them. They knew that no matter what challenges the future might bring, they would always have each other and a community that supported them unconditionally. And so, with each new piano note and each new step on the road to medicine, Eric and Louisa continued their journey, knowing that together they could overcome any obstacle and achieve any dream. The story of Eric and Louisa is an emotional journey of overcoming and hope. It teaches us that with love and mutual support, we can face any adversity. Through their struggle and perseverance, we learn the importance of never giving up, even in the darkest of times. Eric's talent and Louisa's determination are a reminder that dreams can come true with effort and dedication. This narrative inspires us to value the power of family love and the strength of community in difficult times. If you found this story as moving as we did, please like and comment to let us know how you feel. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other meaningful stories.